Thank you for viewing this YouTube archive of a Conscious Consumer Network broadcast. Please feel free to share it far and wide. Check out our weekly broadcast guide for weekly updates on scheduled broadcasts. Help keep us on the air by contributing to our network support fund. You can follow us on Facebook and Twitter, or get in touch via email. We thank you for supporting free and independent media.
Television is not the truth. Television is a goddamn amusement park. Television is a circus, a carnival, a traveling troupe of acrobats, storytellers, dancers, singers, jugglers, sideshow freaks, lion tamers, and football players. We're in the boredom-killing business. So turn off your television sets. Turn them off now. Turn them off right now. Turn them off and leave them off. Turn them off right in the middle of the sentence I'm speaking to you now. Turn them off.
Stop them. An idea whose time has come cannot be stopped by any art.
Welcome to TLBTV, Eradicating Programmed Ignorance. And for anybody who doesn't know, I always make sure you do know, this is brought to you by the good graces and the kindness of Conscious Consumer Network, CCN. Please do me a favor, go to their program guide. You'll find that at the bottom of the article we posted for this show on both Conscious Consumer Network and the Liberty Beacon's websites. Please go to their program guide. Take a look at the phenomenal programming this network has. If it wasn't for Conscious Consumer Network, a lot of good alternative media sources would not be heard. They are supported by individuals like you. Do whatever you can to keep them on the air. And with that said, let me tell you what we're going to be talking about tonight and the special guest we have. The title of the show tonight is Geoengineering and Climate Change Policy, Destroying the Biosphere, Enslaving Humanity. All right, I'm going to start off with a bit of a rant, as I always do on my show, and then I'm going to bring in and make a special announcement about our phenomenal guest. Okay, this generation stands on the precipice of becoming the most failing gatekeepers for following generations in all of human history if we choose not to act, and quickly. Geoengineering or weather modification is not a myth, a lie, or a conspiracy theory. It is in fact a painful and deadly reality. One only need to look up on any given day to see large jets crisscrossing the sky from horizon to horizon, leaving chemical or particulate swaths across the brilliant blue heavens that quickly transform into putrid, a putrid blanket as the trails spread out and merge. This phenomenon can be observed in just about any area of the globe we wish to look today. And there are consequences, serious, dangerous, and deadly consequences. Aluminum, barium, lithium, and other heavy metals, toxins, and organic compounds or components in lesser amounts continue to rain down from our skies almost daily, poisoning us, our soil, and the food we eat and the water we drink. The drought conditions in California, man-made, continue to worsen at an almost exponential rate, even though absolute proof can be afforded as to its cause. All of this can be tied directly back to one catalyst, geoengineering or weather modification. I'm not telling you it's the only catalyst. I am telling you it is the most predominant catalyst. What are the visible results of the increasing levels of metals, emphasis on aluminum, saturating our air and soil? Let me give you a few. Increased incidences of dementia, Alzheimer's, autism, and other cognitive dysfunctions. Plants growing in a stunted and sickly fashion or dying off. And this is only the fallout of one of the many dangerous components we are exposed to on an ever-increasing scale. None of this is tinfoil hat territory, my friends. And all that has just been said and what you will see and hear in the article that was given to you that accompanies this show is backed by solid and proven scientific data. Okay, yet our health and the biosphere we depend on for our very survival is still being attacked daily, and in many cases, the attack escalates. Again, I ask, why? Okay? This live show and the great videos you are presented with in the article, both on the TLB and the Conscious Consumer Network websites, contains a virtual cornucopia of pertinent information and display the absolute need for a rising tide of active citizens, activists, concerned for their health, the health of their children, and the future health of this planet. Okay, but again, what is most apparent in all these presentations is the vital need not only for an awakening and a public outcry, but also for action now associated with this vital topic. That being said, one must ask, what can be done? And the answer is, we the people are finding and gathering our voice, and we shall need it to force the required action brought forth by projects and programs such as this TLB TV presentation. Okay, it is well past time to speak up and act, or leave a dying planet and humanity for our children to suffer. Okay, on this episode of TLB TV, Eradicating Programmed Ignorance, we present a great friend, an individual who dons many hats as a contributor, an advisor, a consultant, and now a central staff member of the Liberty Beacon Project. And his consultations will be in the areas of geoengineering. This is Michael J. Murphy. Going forward, TLB and our guest will join our reach and assets to accomplish what must be done to ensure the future of this planet for our children and all of humanity. Michael is a multi-award-winning director and producer, political activist, and president of the Coalition Against Geoengineering. As an independent reporter and community organizer, his work includes directing and co-producing the groundbreaking documentaries which have awakened millions to the environmental threats of geoengineering programs. Why in the world are they spraying, and what in the world are they spraying, and several other short films that address chemtrail/geoengineering programs. He is also working on a third film to address geoengineering titled An Unconventional Shade of Gray, which we will be discussing today. It is a critical video that is in production, and you will understand why after the show. Michael also has a strong history of community service, which has, led him to become a founder in the building of 2 inner-city community food banks, various community empowerment initiatives, and taking on the leadership role in several other empowering community events. Michael has spoken out about these issues in various places around the world, which include Washington, D.C. and the European Union. Michael is also working with political leaders around the world to develop political initiatives that will limit and or ban geoengineering practices. He has also appeared on many radio and television shows around the world, and with the Liberty Beacon Project in the near future will be premiering his own television show for TLB TV. Today, let's discuss catastrophe beyond anything except full-scale, all-out nuclear exchange, but just as deadly and final, and one that may already be in the process of triggering the ultimate detriment to all of humanity. Okay, and that is the death of the biosphere. When the biosphere dies, humanity dies. And we have scientists across the planet screaming at the top of their lungs geoengineering is killing the biosphere. To put this as blatantly as possible, an extinction level event, an ELE, is unfolding on this planet as we speak with little to no notice by a vast majority of this planet's population, like cattle being herded ignorantly and blindly to the slaughter. This must change. How are you today, Michael? And please tell me if and where I'm wrong in anything I presented to our audience so far.
I'm doing great, Roger, and I wish I could argue with you on all of your points. Unfortunately, you're right on, and I guess that's why we're talking today, because it is. You know, it's an issue right now that can't be ignored. It can be ignored. However, if we want life to go on and continue, it's something that we have to address. And unfortunately, we have programs which have been ongoing for well over 70 years. Now we're in full-scale deployment, no question about it. And we're at a point where we're in a geopolitical crisis right now. We just had COP21, the Paris Climate Agreement, other various initiatives which have the goals of creating global governance. And what that does, it builds the structure to legalize these and the like programs without the input of us or our legislators. So we're looking at a tremendous shift of power. So on many different levels, it's so important that we have this dialogue, that we bring it into the proper legal and legislative realms and address it. So I guess that's one of the reasons that we're here today. So thank you so much for having me on. Thank you for covering, you know, what I consider to be, I think, the most vital issue at this time. In the things that we can do, you know, we're very powerful. As you know, and as we've spoken, us as human beings, we have a tremendous amount of power. And if we yield it with the right heart into the right areas, we can make change. And that's what we're doing. So I'd like to discuss some of that today. And it's just an honor and a pleasure to be on. And of course, like you said, we're going to be working more closely in the future. And I'm really looking forward to that.
Well, I got to tell you something. When you say closely, one of the things we have been missing as a global organization that is spreading both in influence and in our voice, especially lately, we've been missing the voice of somebody who really, really pushes the geoengineering issue. You are the ultimate choice for us. You will be having your own television show. You will be getting the word out. We will be supporting you in a fashion that might embarrass you sometimes because we will be getting the word out. We beat the drum very, very heavily for those we know have a message that needs to be heard. So let's talk about the rest of the biggest chunk of this article I wrote about, the website you gave me, the article you gave me, the topic we need to talk about. Let's talk about some legal action. Let's do a little bit of kick-ass on people who want to spray us. Let's talk about a little bit of kick-ass, and I'll mute out. You, please, say everything you wish to say about this.
Yeah, let's talk about kicking the butt that we need to talk about. Well, you know, the legal initiative came really at looking at the situation where we're at, and there were about literally thousands of directions in terms of addressing this, because bottom line is, and we've discussed the fallout, I think most of our audience at this point is aware of the human health ecological implications. So there's virtually actually nothing on the planet which has not been damaged by these programs. We have aluminum-related illnesses going through the roof, respiratory mortality from number 6 down to number 3. That number might even be changing.
And now it's mercury, too.
Now it's mercury. And you know what's interesting, and I'm glad that you said that, in the first 2 films, What in the World Are They Spraying? Why in the World Are They Spraying? We really covered what we consider to be the geoengineering footprint of aluminum, barium, and strontium. You know what was interesting, though, Roger? We had some folks in Hawaii who were intimate in terms of our film, and I'm not going to say our joke, but they were intimate with our
intimate without sex. I'll say it.
There you go. Thank you. I just didn't feel it was prudent at that time, so I'm glad that you said, yeah, intimate, working very closely with our films. But I was looking at the panels, so they got 15 panel tests. We're seeing things such as lead, mercury, arsenic, other things, and that seemed to be uniform with what other people were testing. So while we didn't say anything because I didn't have the knowledge then, I've recently been in contact for Unconventional Gray. We've actually changed the name with Dr. J. Marvin Herndon, world-renowned scientist who's working very closely with us. He's been finding the fingerprint in many tests of coal fly ash. Coal fly ash is extremely toxic and is required by the EPA to actually, through precipitators, when coal is burned, to catch this stuff. So it's not in our air. He's finding this footprint almost an exact match. So while there appears to be a number of different spray patterns, sometimes it's lithium, sometimes we're getting tests with only aluminum, 0 barium, tons of barium, 0 aluminum, vice versa. Coal fly ash appears to be one of the many things that they're spraying. And according
I got to ask you something. I got it, buddy. And please, okay, listen to me. We were sold, if we are doing it, the reason we're doing it is to reflect sunlight. The reason we have nano-sized particles of aluminum by the metric ton in what's being sprayed is because it spreads out. It's got a lot of hang time and it reflects sunlight. So if you're telling me that sometimes they spray and there is no aluminum, but there's barium or there's mercury or there's other things, then that basically blows a hole in their story, doesn't it? You trying to tell me the government lies? Please say it isn't so, Michael.
I think they did once. I think it was one time, and probably in relation to this or the climate change agenda. And it might have been. It probably wasn't related to any monetary or political interest. But yeah, well, there appears to be a number of agendas behind these programs, of course. And why in the world are they spraying? We covered in detail about the weather control, weather modification relations with these programs, and of course aluminum, being that it's a conductor, it's a very effective metal or a conductor to put into our skies. And I can discuss some of the ways that it works with arc-like technologies, ionospheric heaters, but there's also ways that you can create what's called cloud condensation nuclei. So when you put these nanoparticles into the sky, water molecules, instead of adhering to each other, they'll adhere onto this metal particulate. And it becomes very simple to, for example, build clouds in certain cases, or if you use different technologies, you can just kill a storm. You can change the polarization, the ionization with these metal particulates, which act as conductors into our sky, or you can heat. So if you put a big cloud, let's say, of aluminum in our atmosphere, through ionospheric heaters, you can heat up that area. And what it does, it creates this lift in our atmosphere. So if we look at, let's say, California, for about the past 3 years, we have this big bubble sitting off of California in the jet stream that should be coming in right over the west, bringing precipitation and weather into the California. It hits this bubble, boom, and it gets diverted up north. So what's happening and what's been happening, that precipitation's been going up into the Arctic, been bringing very warm air into that region. I was in the Midwest. I'm in the Midwest right now. We have that bubble over California. Wish I was there because it's 80 degrees, but it's diverting all of the warm air into the Arctic, and guess what? It's warming that region. What is warming weather doing in the Arctic?
I got a question for you, okay? One of the things that I have noticed, and I look and I see that right on the tail end of a lot of storms, we have a lot of colds, a lot of flu action, a lot of colds. I am also aware that E. coli bacteria has been found in the upper atmosphere, especially areas that are being sprayed. I have also heard the excuse that E. coli bacteria is good for nucleating water drops. Wow. Are you telling me that they're putting viruses into the upper atmosphere to make it rain, because when that water nucleates around that virus, it brings it to Earth? And what we see on the tail end of these storms is more flu-like conditions, more cold-like conditions. Is this something you're familiar with, or is this just something?
Well, right now you're teaching me something about what's being found, and I'm definitely open to it because we covered one aspect, and that was weather control, and I want to be very open to the audience. I wake up in the morning considered to be, an expert I travel around the world, been to UN security conferences talking about this. I wake up in the morning and wonder how much I'm not aware of, and it's probably over 90% of these programs. So a lot can be achieved by putting various aerosols, various, like you stated, viruses, other things into the atmosphere. So of course, I might not be familiar with that specific project. I'm certainly open for it, and I think it merits, definitely discussion that it deserves. And it certainly falls in place with a number of other agendas which are related to the weather control aspect, and that's the aspect of depopulation. So if you look at what we're seeing in terms of this weather being, Roger's pointing at me.
You actually had the nads to say that? My respect for you just went up by 1,000%. We hold nothing back on TLBTV. If you want to say it, damn it, Michael, you say it. And I do want to get into the legal aspect, but you need to talk whatever you feel we need to hear.
Listen, I serve a God, and my God gave life to the planet. My God is the maker of heaven and earth. Okay. And we also have other entities, that scriptures, whatever religion you follow, they talk about the system of death that's creating death. And of course, there is that reality going on. So taking it out of religion, we get into the Rockefellers, Bill Gates talking about depopulation or their agenda to depopulate the planet. Weather control is the perfect vehicle, one of many perfect vehicles for this. And then we can get into contraception. We can get into Planned Parenthood.
Which is the most dangerous and immediate to humanity, geoengineering to end all life on this planet?
Geoengineering is, I wouldn't say all life, human life, human and natural life on the planet. And what geoengineering does, it definitely, and we're jumping ahead of where I wanted to go, but I'm glad we went here because I think it's key. We can argue what these programs are about, and bottom line is none of us, not any of us knows 100% sure what these programs are. We do know at the very least it has to do with weather control, which has to do with destruction of natural life. We have companies like Arbigen, Monsanto, which are reaping the benefits on this. And listen to this.
No cussing.
Roger. I'm trying to hold back, but Monsanto.
Oh,
let's
again.
Let's look at this at just the very life and death. Okay, and I got the revelation on the organic farm that I live on in Maui, and we've lost 50% of our ability to grow natural organic seeds and food. In that death, I learned about an issue called abiotic stress. What is abiotic stress? Abiotic stress is everything that geoengineering creates. Drought conditions, too much moisture, fungal overgrowth, heavy metal contamination, pH changes in our soil. These things create death to our food supply. What does Monsanto do? They develop a seed, a genetically modified seed that addresses abiotic stress. Here's what this is, and I'm jumping way ahead. Geoengineering is many things, but it seeks to destroy natural life. And just using the seed experiment, when you create situations where life cannot thrive, and then you set yourself up, such as Monsanto, as the solution to that problem through the destruction of natural life, they redesign a seed. They become what? The author of life. They become God. That's what this is.
They play God. They play God.
It's the shift of power that every religion talks about in what they call the end times. So nature dies. This new system comes in. They redesign a seed. They become God. And that's what's going on all levels. And what happens when humans cannot live, and that's what's happening. We are seeing human health implications go through the roof. That's death. And what happens? They redesign life. That's geoengineering. It's a restructuring of every natural system. Gift of all of this power.
You have basically just backed up everything I have said for the last 2 years about geoengineering. And I couldn't be a happier camper. And yes, I do consider you to be an expert, but even experts, as you say, don't know everything about anything. If you knew everything about anything, you would in fact be God. If you tell me today, anybody comes up to me today and says there's nothing you can teach me, I'm going to turn you around and issue you a very, very comfortable walk back to the door. And I don't want you to get windburn on your ass as I slam it very, very hard, because that is ultimate arrogance. We all know, anybody with any intelligence at all knows there is always something to learn. So let's get into the legal aspect. And yes, I'm going to mute my mic. I want you to discuss the new documentary. Anybody who doesn't know about your first two documentaries, they are in the article on the Conscious Consumer Network website, in the article on the same article on the Liberty Beacon website. Please go see what in the world are they spraying? Why in the world are they spraying? Please watch them. And then please discuss the purpose, the intent, and the focus of your latest documentary.
Sounds good. Well, I have a little confession to make. I really don't think our movement needs another film, and only another film. And there are some great people right now making films in relation to geoengineering, and I support them, and I think that's a good thing. And I think if we can reach more people, that's important. But reaching more people alone is not going to solve this problem that we have. While awareness is very, very important, awareness alone, it's not going to stop it. And it's not, if we hand out 1,000,002 DVDs, our skies are not just magically going to clear up. There has to be an action plan. So with both what in the world are they spraying, why in the world are they spraying, we woke up tens, hundreds of millions of people. Some say, who knows what the number is, but it was effective in terms of creating an awareness. So we've seen a lot of changes, and a lot of people in the movement got active, putting out articles, websites, and everything, and that was very good in terms of getting the word out. But again, awareness, the people behind these programs really aren't concerned about awareness, they're concerned about agenda. So I started Unconventional Gray with really the goal of using the skills and the successes that we've had in the first two films to really look at how we can put together a system, an action plan for the movement, for the world, and get support for that. So this whole project, it's aimed at, while yes, it's aimed at awakening people, it's a call to action film. And I saw a couple of critical areas that we have, in areas where we missed the boat, I think, in the first two films. And I'd like to call those practice runs. Okay, so we practiced on how to become articulate.
Those were damn good practice runs, my friend. They really were.
You haven't seen anything yet. Okay, this is going to a much bigger platform, and the market is yielding it. We just got called to speak at United Nations security conferences, talking to delegates who were unaware of this. A lot of people think all of our legislators, our lawmakers are aware of this, and that's simply not true. There are interests, powerful interests, and now interests around the world that have an interest in this climate change agenda and have an interest in what we're trying to do. So the word is getting out, and now we're being called, what I would say, to other audiences and other platforms. And that's very exciting, because this issue does need to go beyond just general population. But us collectively working together, we can move mountains. So we have this climate change agenda, which is moving through. And it's a very serious concern, because today, geoengineering programs, while they are illegal, we still have the ability to take both legal and legislative action. Just nobody has figured out the right combination how to do this. However, we have COP21, other climate agreements that we know have the goals and agendas, and they're talking about this, legalizing geoengineering, implementing geoengineering. And there's a lot of discussion within the geoengineering movement that it wasn't, this climate agreement wasn't ratified by the Senate. There's certain states that won't sign on. 95% of all international agreements have been signed by executive order by the president. Okay? And we know the goal of the global elite is to create global governance. Okay? And now we also have the TPP and the TPIP, if I said it correctly, these are legally binding. And these are back doors. These are back doors.
You are blowing me away, my friend, because I'll tell you, not only did I not expect you to be bringing up topics like this, but I didn't expect you would even relate these things where I see, let's talk about carbon credits. I don't mean right this second. Let's talk about you and me living under a carbon dictatorship, which is being formulated and created against our will and our knowledge. Okay, what you're doing right now is blowing me away because you're giving all the credibility to the fact that we have asked you to be a part of this project. You are telling the world what a great decision we made inviting you in, my friend.
Well, I'm glad to be on. But bottom line, if anybody in this movement is telling you, don't worry, it has to go through the Senate, that's hogwash. We've got a serious problem. We've got a serious agenda. And when they talk at these climate agreements about legalizing these programs, damn it, and I am going to say damn it, we better take action. So anybody in this movement that tells you not to worry about this and tells you not to worry about the legalization of geoengineering and this climate agreement, let me tell you something. There are a number of backdoors, and this stuff is serious. And let me tell you what we have to address, Roger. You're sparking a nerve because I've been seeing things on social media. I've been seeing things. Listen, I've been seeing things from certain elements in this movement, and I'm angry. This is my future. I have family, okay? I have children that I love. And when people say, don't worry about this, just wake up 100 more people and our skies are going to disappear. Here's the deal. All climate agreements, and we could talk about a number of things. Let's just talk about one thing. Whether it goes carbon credits, the removal of state national boundaries, the transfer of what they're estimating to be $15 trillion. Nah, the whole world is just going to say, oh, it didn't get ratified in the Senate. Oh, I guess we're not going to pass this. We've put how many billions and billions of dollars of this agenda to create global governance. Senate's not going to ratify it. Let's forget about it. All of this stuff is predicated, every one of it, on climate models. Climate models that source CO2 as the cause of our changing climate. Geoengineering programs are designed to, A, change the temperature of our planet. While they might regionally cool certain areas, nice warm day, you'll see the spring, it'll drop about 7 or 8 degrees. At night, it traps heat. A lot of university studies show us geoengineering or indicate geoengineering actually warms the planet. So which is it? Is it warming or is it cooling? We don't know. Geoengineering programs are designed to manipulate our weather. This adverse weather, every time it gets warm in the Arctic, oh God, it's got to be CO2. Wait a minute, what about the jet stream manipulation? Could it be that's warming? And there's no possible way. Nobody's been able to answer this. I've said it in front of tens of millions of people, and I've asked for the answer. How can anybody determine what the temperature of the planet is while we have ongoing geoengineering programs? The question to that answer is nobody can. And because of that, and because geoengineering is not included in climate models, it makes them bogus, it makes them bunk, it makes them incorrect. And to move forward with the transfer of $15 trillion in the first 5 years, which I believe it is, with the erosion, disappearance of state boundaries, with the removal of our rights and freedoms, depopulation agendas, you name it. This stuff is bad, and I want to talk about details on it. You can't do it. And that's what our lawsuit is based on. That's where we found the problem to be. So our goals and objectives are to bring into a court of law definitive proof that geoengineering is going on, not too hard to prove. Once we do that, where is it in climate models? And if it's missing, you can't determine whether the planet's warming or cooling. So we have goals and objectives of getting court injunctions to stop the climate change agenda. And with this, Roger, it's not a divisive. This global warming issue has been so divisive, and actually I think it's been brought in to this movement to actually divide as was stated in Obama, he has a czar, in what was it? It was in a paper called Cognitive Infiltration by Cass Sunstein, which specifically spoke about bringing this issue of...
I asked you not to swear. Cass Sunstein, my God, how profane can you get?
I'll try to say F words or something that might be more appropriate. So anyways, you know, it's been pretty apparent that that's been brought into divide. We're bringing the climate change issue into this, in this capacity, to bring unity. Because if we get cord injunctions to stop all of this transfer of wealth, this development of this entire new system based on carbon until geoengineering is stopped, we unite those who are supportive of this climate change agenda, those who are not supportive. We all come together, demand that geoengineering is stopped, and that's the goal and objective. And it's a lawsuit on unity.
Well, I need to bring up a couple things. First thing I want to bring up is, and I'm not asking you this question, I'm asking the audience. The question is, are you an idiot? I mean that, okay? Now let me explain that, okay? I am constantly being told by people over and over and over again, by ignorant people, not stupid people. Ignorance is not having knowledge, a lack of knowledge. You're ignorant, okay? If you look up in the sky and you see that jet going across the sky and stuff's coming out the back, that is a contrail, okay? I have the easiest explanation to disprove that, the easiest explanation on the planet, and only an idiot is not going to see this. So I ask again, who listening considers themselves an idiot, all right? I worked for the military-industrial complex for 3 decades running an emergency response team. I know of what I speak. I know that big jets in the sky that don't have their jets turned on fall like a brick. They fall right out of the sky. Jets might be aerodynamic so they can pass through the air, but if they have no motive power, they don't glide very well at all. They're very heavy. They fall like a rock. So if you're telling me I'm looking up in the sky and what I'm seeing is a contrail coming out of the back of that jet, then all of a sudden he finishes his line and he does a 180 and he comes back, and for 3 or 4 minutes, that you're seeing nothing coming out of his jets. Why isn't there a big crater sitting right next to me? Why isn't there a big crater sitting right next to me when 4 minutes without power, that metal jet just continued at the exact same altitude? This is physically impossible, my friends. Physically impossible. If you still think, after watching a jet go through the sky, after you see that shut off and then 5 minutes later it comes back on, that it is just a jet trail, you are an idiot. And I'll let you talk again, my friend. I think I've entertained you enough for right now.
Yes, you're cracking me up, and we do. We spoke. We have to have fun while addressing this a little bit, so I get emotional, but I also have a lot of fun as well. Well, you know what? We're in the final stages of implementing the aerosol collection project. So we had a couple of larger donations that gave us the base money to do one test. So we're going up. We're going to be testing the aerosols, and I don't think one test. I don't
explain that in a little bit more detail. This is crucial. Please explain that.
It is, and the goals are to expand this project. So the aerosol collection project, what we're doing is with Dr. J. Marvin Herndon, we're taking airplanes up into the aerosols, and we're going to be testing. So we have a lab working with us, and we have professional testing advice to go up into the aerosols, and that's critical. So, you know, we have this. What's interesting is I've been to geoengineering conferences and actually been taunted by geoengineers when I...
So wait a minute, hold on. You're going to be inside a small plane sniffing the butt of the big dog.
Well, I wouldn't say we're going to be...
Oh, well.
We're not going to be that close behind them, but...
please tell me this is so.
We're going up. And we're going up to test the aerosols. There are a lot of factors in. So it's not as simple as one would think. And also we have to go in. We're risking our health going up there in an unpressurized airplane into Maui. Actually in Maui, what we have a lot of platform or sea-based aerosols which come up from sea level. And they go up. And it's actually what's responsible for a lot of the cloud and storm systems that come up. So there definitely putting something into the atmosphere. So we're going up with our team. We're going to go through the cloud, get photographic evidence, and actually test them. And that will be a proof.
Both of my kids were born in Hawaii. I lived there for 4.5 years.
Yeah.
I'm sitting back here weeping at the loss of paradise.
Well, you're in cold weather, as I am today.
No, I'm talking about what's happening.
Oh, Roger, in the rainforest, we've lost about 30% of our rainforest. Even here in Chicago, when I was here over the summer, probably 20% of our trees were dying. California, some of it might be coming back in certain regions, but the loss of life, that's life. And you know what? We're part of nature, and nature is going. And when nature goes, that's us. That's life. So, this project, it wasn't, we're going to do another film so we can get more attention and beat the drum and celebrate that there's more information. Information alone is not going to stop this. It's the right action. So we take these samples, and again, the goal is to bring the aerosol collection project, what we've learned, to regions around the world so that we can bring our structure, our legal structure, with goals at stopping the climate change agreements, or should I say the agenda, which, by the way, seeks to legalize geoengineering. And it does this because people say, oh, well, the geoengineering programs are already illegal. They're already doing it. Why would they care if it's legalized? Because we can stop it. We can take legal legislative action today. Once it's legalized, brought out of the United States and other jurisdictions into the hands of the IPCC, into the hands of the UN, it removes our ability and our legislators' ability to address this. And if you're simply, we looked at, should we sue the EPA? Should we sue certain corporations? Which we might, but if we're not addressing the climate change agenda, we're missing the boat because it will not stop geoengineering. Our goals are not...
You made an extremely good point, and I want to press that point just a little bit here. So bear with me for about 1 minute, okay? Yeah. We need to take care of that, and we need to take care of that before it goes into the UN, because at that point we lose control. We are, in the United States, the most chronically ill nation on the planet, and this has happened over the last 3 generations. What has happened over the last 3 generations? We have become the most vaccinated society on the planet. We have become the most GMO'd society on the planet. We have become the most fluoridated society on the planet. We have become the most drugged society on the planet. We have become the most geoengineered society on the planet. All of this is being done in and to the United States at a higher rate than any nation on this planet. We are ground zero. We are in the crosshairs. We need to make the changes here. You're absolutely right, Michael. This is not something we have to do. This is freaking paramount. By the year 2025, scientists are stating that 1 out of every 2 children, did you hear what I just said? 1 out of every 2 children born in this country will be born with autism, and they will be handicapped for life. 1 out of every, when I was born in the mid-1950s, that was better than 1 in 20,000. In less than 10 years, it could be 1 out of every 2 children born will be handicapped for life. If you don't think it's paramount, everybody listening, listen to what Michael is saying, because what he is saying is the gospel according to TLB.
Yeah, and let me tell you, it's critical that I wish we could address it in other capacities. Who wants to take on a $15 trillion agenda? That's literally David and Goliath. I wish there was another way around, but if we're just taking on, let's say, the EPA or something, we're missing the huge boat, and that's the legalization of geoengineering. And what struck me, Roger, I was looking at the victories that certain countries and certain genetically modified GMO activists, who I'm friends with many, and I think they've done just a wonderful job, both here, with labeling. Some have had victories. We had some victories when we worked on that in Maui, but in Sweden, other countries who have GMOs banned from their countries. However, if those countries sign on to the TPP and other international trade agreements, those circumvent that. So these victories, and I'm really looking at, I'm looking at today in the geoengineering movement, there were people celebrating that the climate agreement was not rubber stamped by the Senate. Certain states didn't want to sign on to this. But I use that as an example. In conditions, it's not the Senate, it's not our Congress running things with these trade agreements, and there are back doors. Okay, so we have to look at what the agenda is. The United States of America, the rule of law, not only in this country, but we represent countries around the world. The dynamics are changing, and they're looking at legal inroads to backdoor this stuff, and that's what's happening. So all of these victories that we have, if we're not guarding the back door, and that's what I think we've largely failed to do in a number of capacities with a number of issues, including the genetically modified, then that's where they're coming through. And they're not.
You brought up TPP and TPP.
That's critical.
You brought these up. It is crucial because basically what it does is it takes our sovereignty away. If a company is robbed of what they believe is their rightful profit, okay, then they can sue a state. A state stands to lose a lot of money. This is a rigged system. 3 judges, one for you, one who's supposed to be neutral, and one for them, okay? They can overrule sovereign nations and laws. How many states or sovereign nations are going to want to lose billions and trillions of dollars over time to these corporations, so they're not going to want to rock the boat? Sovereignty becomes a thing of the past. With geoengineering, there will be no way to stop it.
You better believe it. And again, I keep on bringing this point in. This is all predicated, everything that we're talking about, on CO2 as being the cause of our changing climate. We can prove that geoengineering is left out of this. Don't even have to argue warming or cooling. I can't. I'm not God. I don't know what the temperature is, you know? And I like to use, and I'm going to use it again, let's say if you turn your heater on to 100 degrees in your home and it starts getting hot, would it be prudent to say, oh my God, it's getting hot outside? Could be getting hot outside. Could be getting cold outside. You don't even have an idea till you turn that heater off. The heater is geoengineering. So when people are saying, well, the planet has runaway warming, oh, okay, was that taken when the jet stream was being diverted into the Arctic? Was that taken when, you know, 3/4 of the Earth
polar vortex was created?
Yeah. Was that when it was warming, or was it when the jet stream was manipulated down in the south and there was colder weather? Or, you know, what factor did you put in with our cloud cover at night that traps heat? When was that temperature taken, and how was it accurate? And the answer to that question, the answer is no. And what that does, Roger, it destroys the opposition for bringing this global warming divisive argument, which causes a lot of geoengineering activists to support the very legislation which is aimed at legalizing geoengineering. What a brilliant maneuver to bring into this movement. And then you have people fighting. It's warming. No, it's cooling. Hey, we don't know. We don't even need to argue about that. We can't even argue about it. Let's look at where the key is and why this issue is brought into the movement and what it did. And let's bring us back into balance. Let's look at a way to stop this. And we busted them, Roger. We busted them.
Well, you know what else we did today? I'm going to tell you what else we did today, because I've watched your films. A lot of people have watched your films, and a lot of people have listened to you talk on radio shows and seen you talk on other television shows. And the one thing they've never seen, and the one thing I'm very, very good at eliciting, is the passion and the anger that you have put forward today. You have been so animated that I feel really, really happy about this show. I'm going to consider it one of the best we have ever done. And I've got to tell you something. If you tell me that the sky is gray, okay, but it pisses you off, or you say, you know what, the sky is gray and it pisses me off, which one do you think is going to leave a lasting effect on me? I want the emotion, and what I have seen from you today is actual emotion. That's hard to fake, Michael.
It's been, I have to be honest with you. I honestly did. I'm a I don't want to get too open here. I had a real good cry today, and I think that's a healthy thing. And as a man, we're taught not to cry. There's a lot of stuff that's going on. There's a lot of things that have happened in my personal life, especially since I've addressed this. There have been people who I trusted, who I considered almost brothers, who have stabbed me in the back over this issue, over this issue. And, I look at what it's doing to people, and I really do. And I look at what it's doing to people emotionally. I look what it's doing to the children. I look what it's doing to my family. And I'm not so much angry, but I'm sad. And sometimes I grieve over this issue. And I think we run a risk when we only address this on anger and emotion. It's easy game, but
you're absolutely right. And I have stated, and I will reiterate, because we're getting close to the end of the show here, and I'm going to want you to do a wrap up. I will reiterate to the entire audience listening here, nothing that is happening on the planet today, okay, has the ability to end all life on this planet, meaning especially, okay, talking about humanity, than geoengineering does, or change or messing with the weather short of an all-out nuclear war.
That's absolutely correct. So I think when we're having our male emotional points, I think it's healthy to acknowledge, the grief that we feel, but then taking that energy and moving forward in love, moving forward with the love for our planet and how we want to strategically do this. Yeah, it's a serious issue. Yeah, people are dying. Does that grieve us? Does that make us angry? You bet it does. So let's take that energy. Let's take, like today was a great day, for example. Spent a lot of time alone really thinking about this issue. But let's use that energy to move forward in a productive manner. Let's take that emotion and work that out within ourselves so it doesn't get lashed out at other people. And then let's strategize in a very effective, not only business way, legal capacity, and in a very prudent way. And when we move forward in those capacities, when we have a level head and we're not beating people up who are standing next to us, which can be sometimes hard to do because we're all emotional about this, but when we move forward, Roger, I have found in the capacity which I discussed, we move mountains. In this plan with Unconventional Gray, unconventionalgray.com, I am absolutely certain that, without question, that we have the combination. It makes perfect sense to me. I have advisors. I have friends and family who've worked at very high levels in a number of places who I've spoken with, strategized. I've spoken with people from areas overseas who are very much involved with the political system. I'm absolutely convinced that we have the combination which will stop this, and it's beautiful to have support from you. It's beautiful to have
it's going to be a lot more than just support. We also, and you know of this, and we're doing a launch on the 15th, we also have, exclusive rights to market globally a test kit that can test your body, for pennies on the dollar as compared to a blood test at home without a doctor, and tell you if you have these poison aluminums, these mercuries, these glyphosates, these fluorides in your body. We're going to give, and this is called ToxyScreen, and it is part of the Toxy Solution launch we're going to be doing. We're going to give people the ability to find out if that crap they're breathing in every day is making them toxic, and what you're going to find out is it is. Give me about a 30-second, 1-minute wrap-up at the most. We're just about done.
I'm just very excited about the opportunity for us to see what is in our bodies. But again, I want to say, the key to this whole thing is how geoengineering relates to the climate change agenda. And everything is predicated on these climate models. Geoengineering, no question about it. It changes our climate. Not in climate models, boom. So we have to stop or get injunctions to stop the implementation of the climate change agenda. Again, the goal is to bring unity from all sides of the issue so that we demand that our skies be clear, that there's no evidence of geoengineering. Then we'll see what the planet's doing. But right now, we can't even have that dialogue.
All right, so basically we've got to go from spreading knowledge to spreading action. And I totally agree with you. And let's do that going forward. For everybody listening, this has been another Eradicating Programmed Ignorance brought to you by TLBTV. And of course, on Conscious Consumer Network. Please go there. Please support this phenomenal network. I need to tell everybody listening, you will be hearing a lot more from Michael J. Murphy. We consider him at this point in time to be a part of the Liberty Beacon family. We will support him and all of the endeavors that we need to get the information and spread the activism about geoengineering globally. Thank you for being with us today, Michael.
Thank you so much, Roger, for everything. Really appreciate you. And yeah, let's keep on moving forward. I'm very excited.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Thank y'all.
Thank you for tuning into CCN. This unique network is dedicated to free and independent media. CCN was created with the belief that information is the common heritage of all beings, which is why our live stream high-definition broadcast is easily accessible and free to view. If we want to change the world, we must first change the media. Having produced over 1,000 shows in 2015, which are all archived on YouTube, we look forward to bringing you more groundbreaking, cutting-edge information in 2016. For more information on what is on, please check out our broadcast guide for weekly updates. CCN broadcasts in multiple languages and features some key voices of our challenging times who are all in pursuit of a free, fair, just, sustainable world. CCN belongs to you, the people, and it is up to you all to keep this network on the air. Please contribute to the Network Support Fund or visit the CCN shop. We thank you all for supporting free and independent media.